Hi guys, thanks very much for checking out this video on how to structure your training program. I've had this question a few times from my athletes, from a few people in the kettlebell community, so I thought I'd do a quick video and just show you what I think makes up a good program and how to structure it. So let's just jump straight in, guys. So looking at it, basically what we need to look at is how should I structure my training? The common question, okay? Four key things to consider, okay, is how many times a week you can train, what's your current state of physical fitness, the environment, and what are the goals. So all of these things are going to have a massive impact on one, the type of training you're going to do, and two, when you're going to do it. Common issues that I see is they try and make they pick up a program and they try and fit their lives into that program when it should be kind of be the other way around. So let's just explore those bit by bit. Frequency. So looking at that is the best program that we've got is the one that fits your schedule. Remember, this is your training. It's got to fit around your life. So a lot of people I see make the mistake on again trying to follow one specific set routine. But if you've got a busy life and a busy job and everything else like that, you're only going to end up getting frustrated by not being able to put the maximum amount of effort into that specific training program that you've chosen, or you're just going to end up losing a bit of motivation because it's not working around your schedule. So the best thing that you can do is have a look at a training program that's going to fit around your schedule and your life. We've all got lives, we've all got different demands. Some of us can train a little bit more, some of us can train a little bit less. All of these things that we need to take into consideration. But at the end of the day, like a great mentor and a great coach said to me, is make the program fit the athlete, not the athlete fit the program. Because like I say, you're going to get better adherence, okay? You're going to buy into the program more, and you're not going to be frustrated on the days that you can't get to the gym, and also you're going to maximize your training when you are there. So let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at another part of it is, are you actually fit enough? I've made the mistake many a time on trying to follow a program or a high-end program or high-level training when I just wasn't fit enough. So all that had happened was I'd pick up little niggly injuries and I would just start to break down. So, are you currently a bit out of shape? Have you not done much for a long period of time? Have you been injured and have you sort of gone by the wayside? Is that what your current state is? Okay, because if that is your current state, then don't expect to jump onto a high level program straight away, because again, all that's going to happen is you're going to break down and you're not going to be able to get the most out of it, which then means that your gains and your motivation is going to drop. When we look at the demands of kettlebell sport, it is an endurance sport, so we need a good level of aerobic fitness. We need a good aerobic capacity there to be able to sustain one, the actual training itself, and two, the recovery between the sets and to recover for the next session. I made this mistake early on in the beginning where I was relatively fit, for argument's sake, quite strong. I could squat a lot, but I really neglected the cardio aspect of it. And all this did was it would one hamper my recovery, and it would hamper the amount of trainings I was actually able to get in, because all that would happen was I train really hard in one set, but it'd take me ages to recover for the next set because I didn't have a good aerobic capacity and a good aerobic base to support the training that I was doing. So when we look at kettlebell sport and we look at some of the literature in Russian that looks at kind of your VO2 max and where you currently need to be, you need to really be hitting. This is just a basic table of the Cooper run test. Okay, so this is just a basic test that's just a good little measure of aerobic capacity that pretty much anybody can do. Okay, you can use a row machine if you can't run or whatever it may be, but you need to find something that you can measure your aerobic fitness. You need to be able to sustain working for periods of time, because kettlebells is an endurance sport, so like an Olympic, you need to be cardiovascular fit. Again, what's your strength levels like? Because of the nature of the sport, there is a big strength component in terms of being able to hold key positions for a long period of time. So you need a good base level of strength to support that. Because what will happen is if you're not quite strong enough to hold key positions, if you try and transfer up the weight and move up kettlebell weights or whatever it may be, what you'll find is you start drifting into like uneconomical positions in terms of your lifting, but also you're putting yourself at a greater risk of injury because your body just cannot support the workload that it's trying to put into it. Okay, so make sure that you've got a good base of strength. I like to look at kind of some real basic strength things from starting strength. So it's kind of you're looking at 1.5 times body weight on back squat, being able to do 10 full body weight pull-ups, being able to deadlift double times body weight. Um, all of these things. Now, again, these aren't set in stone, but they're just general rules of thumb. Just try and make sure that you've got a good base to support the type of training that you want to do. And there's a very minimum. I always try and recommend that people at least get up to a body weight squat as a kind of a minimum. Now, if you can't squat for shoulder issues or whatever it may be, then you can look at a lower body strength test, i.e. trap bar. That doesn't need a lot of technical coaching on that. It's not as technical as a back squat, for example, but you still want to be able to shift a bit of load just to be able to tolerate the demands of the sport, because although it is an endurance sport, it is a strength endurance sport, and you do need a base level of strength to support the type of training that you're going to be doing. And then another thing of it, and there's a good diagram from my friend Dennis Vasiliev. He sent me over these graphics and they're absolutely fantastic. But what I'm using them to highlight here is, can you get into these positions? Are you able to actually put your body in these shapes that are getting made within kettlebell sport? Because if you're not really able to create the shapes, then you're going to need to have to look at them, and how are you going to manage those movements and manage yourself and build a program that's going to be appropriate for what your current movement is. So if we're looking at actually, can you extend through the thoracic? Can you put your hands straight above your head? Can you get into rack position? These are the little things that you need to look at. And actually, when you're about to start a program, and you need to really evaluate yourself. And if you're really struggling, what I would recommend is really just reaching out to somebody who has got an understanding of, one, the demands of the sport, and two, how to fix any issues that you may possibly be having. Okay, but always just understand what is the needs of the sport, what's the kinetics and what's the kinematics. Okay, what does the body need to be able to do? Okay, what's the duration of the sport? What shapes have got to make? What physical components have I got to increase to make sure that I'm staying fit, I'm staying healthy? Because just remember, this isn't a professional sport in terms of we're getting paid for it. We're generally doing this as fitness enthusiasts, and it's a really good hobby to have to keep us fit and healthy. But just make sure that you are improving all aspects of your performance so it carries over into all sorts of life situations, and just feeling good, feeling fit, and feeling healthy. So, and another thing that I like to look at is, where will you be training? Now, with kettlebell sport, we're not currently in a blessed position where we've got coaches on every single street corner and every single gym in every single town, city and village. That doesn't really happen. So we've got quite a few guys who train alone, maybe in garages, home gyms, or in the gym in the corner. But have an understanding of, if you are training in those environments, then you can end up in a situation where because I was training alone for such long periods, I didn't really have anybody to push me on and to drive me on. And when I went to take it easy, I could talk myself out of it. But also, what I found from the outside looking in is people who generally train alone sometimes can fall by the wayside, or not really achieve their maximum potential because they've got nobody to bounce off or nobody to motivate them. Or they tend to become the big fish in a very, very small pond, which we need a bit of competition because we tend to up our levels. Now, I'm blessed. I've got a gym, and I'm slowly building up a big team. So I've got teammates to work around. But I always recommend trying to structure in a day at least once a month, twice a month if you can, or even weekly, is just going to train in a large group or train in a different environment if you are training by yourself. And then you can have a look at some of the studies on there. Is actually it improves motivation when we train in a group. If you've got somebody who you're saying, right, I'll meet you at the gym on this day and at this time, there's an accountability there, so you tend to stay to the training because you know that actually, oh, somebody else is relying on me, so I'm going to go and help them. It actually it forces you to become better, especially if you're training with people that are probably at a higher skill set of you or fitter than you. You try and up your game to sort of match them. So I always recommend trying to get yourself in an environment which causes you to become the best version of yourself possible and to drive your skill set and your standard up. So try and do that. Again, it's a mistake that I've made over the years. I've always thrived better when I'm training in a group environment. But also some of my best results and best training sessions are when I've actually been the worst one in the room, and I've been trying to keep up with the guys who are so much better than me, and it really motivated me to drive on. And I actually learned a lot by just watching and being in that environment as well, counting reps and all of that. So make sure you can try and get a decent environment around you and try and get access to that anyway, anyhow, you know. And this leads us on to our next one. Now, kettlebell sport is one of those. Again, it's an endurance sport, but it's a young sport, and it's very easy for us to get sucked into the ranking tables, or I want to get master of sport, or want to get master of sport in a national class. Again, these are mistakes that I've made in the past, so I just want to share these with you guys. Is I've actually said, "Oh yeah, Master of Sport in a national class. That's what I want. That's what I want." But was it actually what I wanted, or was it? Oh, actually, that sounds good. It sounds good that I'm a British record holder, so I'm going to go and get that. Or actually, if I tell people that it sounds good, I might get recognition for it, or whatever it may be. But is it actually something that you want? Because ultimately, this is going to have an impact on the frequency and how often you can actually train as well. Because if you're wanting to hit high level results, Master of Sport International class, world records, European records, whatever it may be, then if you're only willing to train twice a week, then they are not realistic goals for yourself. So you need to have a look at actually what are your true goals? Okay, what's the motivational factor behind your goals? Okay, because once you've got your specific goals, as you can see around there, we've got strategy, motivation, planning, determination, and vision. All these link into it. Once you've got that specific goal, then you can start to build out on that. But don't just make it so, well, that sounds good. That sounds like it'll impress someone. So that's my goal. Okay, I've made that mistake before. I've clung on to something that actually, on the grand scheme of things, wasn't really that important to me. I just had a perception that it was important to other people, that it would give me something, when actually, in all honesty, it just doesn't. So now, sit down, it's actually question myself, what is your goal? Why do you want to do this? What do you want to get the most out of this? Why are you going to push yourself through this type of training to get to that goal? What are you going to get when you reach that goal? All of these questions that I ask, and that's what really helps you maximize one, your focus, your motivation, and it actually dictates what type of training program you're going to do. Because if you are only willing to train twice a week, that might be great for general fitness goals. If you are fitting kettlebell sport training around going for a run, doing your spin classes or some general fitness classes or whatever it may be, that's completely fine. But don't get yourself sucked into the fact of, well, I'm going to win a world championships on just 2 sessions a week, because realistically, that isn't going to happen. Okay. And then also, when it comes to your goals, it's how bad do you want it? Because if you've set yourself a big goal, you've sat down, you've gone through it all, and you've said, no, actually, I want to become a master of sport in a national class. I do want to hit this. I do want to push, move on, all of this kind of stuff. Then there's going to be some sacrifices along the way. Are you going to sacrifice the later night training sessions, the early morning sessions? Are you going to sacrifice being a bit more strict with your food? Are you going to be strict with your recovery protocols? Are you going to be strict and follow the program to the T? All of this will come back to how bad do you want it? And again, this is a really important aspect of this full presentation, guys, because again, it's something that I struggled with in the beginning and I fell foul of, and it probably held me back for a good few years. So now let's get started, guys. If you've gone through all of that and you know your frequency, so right, okay, Steve, I can train 4 times a week. That's what I'm committed to. This is going to help me get towards my goal. Actually, I'm at a good fitness level. I can do this, I can do that. Actually, I can run a 5K in under 25 minutes, whatever it may be, whatever your baselines are, and you've decided, no, actually, I want to start looking at that. Or even if you're not, let's have a look and just see where the opportunities lie for you. So, first things first is, once you've got an understanding of where you are physically, once you can paint that picture of where you currently are and where you'd like to be, in terms that might be improved mobility, improved fitness, improved strength, whatever it may be, you might have that picture in your mind of how you're going to get from A to B. Now, what we need to try and do is plan that out in a longer term fashion, because if we try and do it sporadically and we make training really random, then chances are we're probably just going to hold ourselves back. So giving yourself some targets and something to work towards, putting yourself this sort of stuff on paper for the full year ahead, just helps give a bit of clarity. If you don't want to do the full year ahead, you can do 6 months at a time, but I would really recommend just writing down, one, where all your competitions are, what are those key dates, and what are the gaps in that yearly cycle where you can emphasize your weaknesses and build them up. Because remember, they're going to take a little bit of time. If you're not strong enough, then you might need to spend some time doing some strength work. Okay, so you might look for a gap between the competition where it's 16 weeks, for example. So you want to spend a good amount of time getting stronger. It might be the fact that actually I need to work on my fitness, so I'm going to improve it there. I'm going to look for, actually I've got 7 weeks between competitions, so I'm just going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on snatching this part. I'm going to focus on long cycle. I'm going to do biathlon. I'm going to focus on 5 minutes, 30 minutes, marathon, whatever it may be. Plan out your goals over the year and just look for where the opportunities are for you to work on the physical qualities that you need to get you towards your goals. So, monthly schedule. Once you've got your year, plan out your month ahead. Now, the reason why you should do this is because it'll keep you focused on actually what's the goal for this month. Because trust me, again, mistakes I've made in the past, I've tried to plan certain things. I've got 2 or 3 weeks in. I've started to get maybe a little bit bored or whatever it may be, and I've tried to change the plan, do something different. Whereas a monthly schedule will just get you in a position where you can say, no, actually, this is the focus and this is what I'm doing. And this also leads on to your weekly stuff as well. So if we look at it, this is just an example program. Okay, so it's mapped out that this person has got 3 cardio type sessions a week on a morning, for the simple fact is it fits around their schedule. You know, what's the focus for those sessions? Okay, well, we look there, we've got cardio output, we've got interval training. Okay, on the evening, we're going to be doing kettlebell training 5 times a week. What is going to be the focus on there? It's jerk and snatch, long cycle, those types of specific disciplines. It's got intensity ratings on there. So if it's green, it's an easy session. If it's yellow, it's a medium session. If it's red, it's a hard session. Okay, all these things planned out, but doing this in 4 week blocks, one, it just gives you a bit of structure. Okay, and it actually you're able to focus on what it is you're trying to achieve on that one. Now, this one was just one that is just a basic plan, but ideally what you'd want to see on there as well is, right, the focus, well, we're trying to build at this moment, we're trying to transition to a heavier weight, so we're doing a bit more strength work with that specific weight. So that might be overhead holds, it might be pause reps, it might be just doing low repetitions with a heavier weight just to build the strength and get used to it. Whatever it may be, that is where it would go in the focus, and you try and say, right, okay, the main aims of this session is just to do X, Y, and Z. And again, as a great Jim Rohn said, don't start your month until you had it finished. Don't start your day until you have it finished. Don't start your week until you've got it finished. Don't start your year until you've got it finished. Okay, so it's really important to have an understanding, a roadmap of where you're actually going, what you're actually working towards, and how you are trying to improve. So now you've got your monthly schedule, you've got your yearly schedule, you've got all of your goals written out, and now you can start to map out your weeks and your sets. So this is something that you might be just changing on a weekly basis. So this is something from one of my online programs, just run with a student. Again, I have it noted down just for myself, what type of cycle they're in at the moment, what week is it. I've got the intensity noted down there. There's their sets, RPM, all of these things. This is what I mapped out. So basically, I can say, right, okay, on day one, I'm going to do this. Day two, I'm going to do this. Day three, etc., etc., etc. But with the intensities mapped out the way they are, then at least they've got the flexibility to change things around depending on their schedule, their routine, and how they're feeling. And one final thing on this, guys, is this isn't completely rigid. So the way you've got the structure of your training program, it doesn't have to be set in stone. Okay, you might have planned out the full year, you might have had your competitions, you might not be able to go to that competition anymore, so that might alter the type of training that you're going to do, and you might extend the strength cycle, you might extend doing more cardio, more runs, because you feel that's where you need to improve. Your monthly planning, things might change. You might get asked to cover more work, so you might have to reduce your training from 5 times a week to 3 times a week. Okay, don't make it so the program is completely rigid and set in stone. Okay, because again, all that'll happen, like we said with the frequency, if it doesn't fit your schedule, then you won't get the most out of it. Okay, just because you planned it out over a longer period of time, if you need to change something, you can, but make sure that if you do change something, it's from a good, sound, rational place. It isn't changing it because you've got a little bit tired, a little bit overwhelmed, or whatever it may be. You need to really sit down with your coach, discuss with them, is it the fact that you're just a little bit tired and you need to just to re-energize and refocus and actually keep your eyes on the prize and focus on the goal, okay, or do you need to sort of change that session altogether? So again, don't make this completely rigid. don't think just because it's Wednesday I have to do long cycle, for example. Just because it's Wednesday I have to do this type of training. Okay, give yourself a program and a training process that allows you to be fluid a little bit, but don't get that confused with saying if you can't be bothered to do the hard work, then don't give yourself that option as well. So this is about trying to manage your life, your training around the most important things to yourself. So I hope this helps, guys. I hope this little presentation has helped just give you a little bit of clarity on how to structure something, how to possibly go about looking at your weekly training. This is a process that you should maybe possibly go through with your coach, just so they've got a really good understanding of what you're trying to do, what your goals are, where you're trying to go with the full training routine. Okay, if you've got any questions, guys, just drop a comment in the comment section below, or drop me a message at steve@kettlebellcommunity.com. I'm more than happy to help, guys. Okay, again, this is just my thoughts from my experiences as an athlete and as a coach. Again, loads of different people have different approaches to these types of things. I've just found that this is one way that really helps me understand what type of training process that we've got to go towards. So with my online students, they'll generally do a movement test. We'll have a look at what type of movements they can do. We'll have a look at some general fitness qualities. So what can they do in terms of, can they run a Cooper run test? And if so, what kind of time can they look at? What's their upper body strength, lower body strength? Can they complete a fitness test that we put them through? Okay, just a general level fitness test. All of these things just help me as a coach, and specifically when it comes to online training, which makes it a little bit difficult at times, it lets me understand actually what can they do. Are they fit enough for their goals? And two, are they willing to commit to it to hit their goals? Okay, because then I can design a program that, one, fits their schedule and their life, and it fits their motivation and what they need. Okay, guys, so once again, I hope this has helped. If you've got any questions, please do reach out to me. I'm really loving doing this sort of stuff at the moment. This is what the Kettlebell community is all about. We're all about trying to give you guys extra information that hopefully it helps you with your training. So hit me up, guys. Let me know what you think, and hopefully we'll get to chat soon.